Hey everybody, welcome to the program. Today we're going to be covering something very, very dark. And I'm going to try and keep this as light as possible because this is the only film to scare the living hell out of me. And it is the 1984 BBC-funded answer to the 1983 film The Day After. I'm talking about Threads. A friend of mine, Jamie Williams, I'm naming him full on because it's all his fault that I can't sleep for weeks after I watch this movie. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to sleep after, not be able to sleep rather, after hosting this film, but we'll see what happens. And this is one of the few times where the Americans did something first and the British copied it, and yeah, so we'll see how that all pans out. It's shot in a docudrama type of way, so it's very difficult to feel it's an escapist type thing. Like The Day After, you've got Jason Robards, and you've got John Lithgow, and you've got Steve Guttenberg, and while I'm watching him, spoiler alert, but while you're watching him disintegrate from radiation poisoning in The Day After, all you can think is, but the Police Academy movies. And Flounder from Animal House is in it. So you kind of, you don't feel like a real connection to these people. But when it comes to Ruth Beckett in this, and her boyfriend, I think his name is Jimmy, trust me, when the poop hits the fan in this movie, you're not going to care what their names are. You're not gonna care. You don't know the actors and the actresses. And it really kind of, you know what I mean? It kind of, it just really hits you hard. The film is set in Sheffield, England. And it's kind of one of those situations where it's the U.S. and Russia going at it, and England kind of getting caught in the middle. And there's no talk of how, what happens to either side. Just what happens to poor little Sheffield. But yeah, so without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to go ahead and start this up. We're in for one hell of a ride. And if you aren't watching this on YouTube, I'm giving you a heads up. It means it's been taken down. And if it has, thank you for going out of your way to find this. And I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. So let's go ahead and start up the 1984 BBC film, Threads. I hate myself for this. All right, everybody, welcome. It's starting off kind of slow a little bit, but it's still really intense. 27 minutes in, and things really haven't started to go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs yet. But this film was originally called Beyond Armageddon, and it was ordered by the general director of the BBC. I think that's their title, Alistair Mullen. And they had a real issue with Thatcher's England. And you can tell by watching this, if you know anything about that. But for those that don't know, those American folk who are watching this that aren't British folk, the BBC is completely funded by the citizens. So this, I think, is probably one of the few horror films, or films, that was paid for by the community. So Nigel Rottencrotch down at One Pint Alley or whatever, I don't know street names in England, I'm from Wisconsin, his tax dollars went to fund Threads and went to fund my nightmares. I just wanted to stop in here really quick and tell you that kind of thing. It's kind of a weird situation, but it's also a good situation because from what I understand, you can, if you're a citizen and you're paying in, you can actually pitch to the BBC, which would be kind of a cool thing. So if there's any women over there that would like to marry a frumpy, portly movie host, so I can pitch to the BBC, that would be fantastic. So we're going to get right back into it. It's the 1984 BBC film Threads here on Uncle Ron Presents. When we come back, things will have picked up a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay, so there we are. Things have really... this movie has really ramped up at this point. It's got bigger bombs in it than the Crow reboot and the Borderlands film combined. And it started off as a family drama that becomes this about this family that's kind of trying to survive during Thatcher's England, which not a lot of people could because it was really, really harsh. And it becomes this trying to survive the end of the world, and it's the Thatcher government didn't like this movie because it made a statement about their government and how ill-prepared they were and their ineptitude and things like that. And it really kind of puts the spotlight on how ill-prepared they were. And I want to do everyone here a favor, and I want to do everyone over in England a favor, because it's obvious they weren't very prepared for what happened. And that's no fault of their own. I mean, Margaret Thatcher was used as an excuse to not get an erection in Austin Powers, so that must mean something. So I'm going to give you all a tip on how to survive a nuclear attack, and then we're going to head back into the film. And then just before the ending, I'm going to come back and talk a little bit about something. And then, so here's a little tip on how to survive the nuclear apocalypse, and we'll be back at the next break.
Duck and cover.
Be sure and remember what Bert the Turtle just did, friends, because every one of us must remember to do the same thing. That's what this film is all about. Duck and cover. Paul and Patty know this. No matter where they go or what they do, they always try to remember what to do if the atom bomb explodes right then. It's a bomb. Duck and cover. Sundays, holidays, vacation time, we must be ready every day, all the time, to do the right thing if the atomic bomb explodes. Duck and cover. That's the first thing to do. Duck and cover. First, you duck. Then, you cover. You duck and cover tight. Duck and cover under the table. It's a bomb. Duck and cover.
He did what we all must learn to do. You and you and you and you. Duck and cover.
That's a little tough, ain't it? Yeah. Ruth dies after all that struggle. No ozone layer, so she gets cataracts, dies of radiation poisoning, cancer, whatever it was. And her daughter just takes her stuff and runs. It's really, it's hard to watch. As a human being, as somebody who has feelings and empathizes with my fellow humans' plights. It's hard to watch, and I understand if people are having a hard time with this movie. So I'm going to give you something cheery, okay? You're familiar with what Kermit the Frog looks like when he gets excited, yeah! And the wacky waving inflatable tube arm man. Well, here's a few seconds of Robert Tepper, who sings No Easy Way Out, from a Rocky IV soundtrack, waving his arms around like a fool. And then we're going to get into the heartbreaking conclusion to the 1984 BBC film Threads here on Uncle Ron Presents. So stick with us. So there it is. Basically the end of humanity. That was a hard movie to watch. And I remember when I first saw it, I could not. Okay, let's put it this way. I watched Two Girls, One Cup, and it didn't bother me. Which says something completely different about me. But this movie is far more terrifying than anything I have ever seen in my life. And it bothers me just seeing a clip of it. Depending on where in the movie it is, it drives me to not be able to sleep. And I already have a hard enough time getting to sleep. With the cows mooing and everything, and all the milk and the cheese here in Wisconsin. But I don't know if it's because I don't recognize anybody in it, and it's shot like a docudrama, and the reception's been very positive for it. It wasn't until recently it was put out on Blu-ray, and I want to thank you for watching this with me, because this is a tough watch. It really is. And I promise we're going to get into more fun stuff later on. But not only did I want to watch this on Uncle Ron Presents because I wanted to share my pain, but I also feel like more people need to see it, because you never know. And ultimately, we're not ready. We're not prepared for this. And we need to be vigilant for things, you know, and it's rough. It's really rough. But on that note, I'm going to leave you with some puppies to cheer you back up. And I will see you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I know I hate having to give you those calls to action, but I really hope you do, because we are on the road to 1,000. And we are 2 away at this point of recording. We are 2 away from 700. So I hope you enjoyed this enough. And I promise you there will be much funner stuff going ahead. I've been thinking about showing the film Damnation Alley, which is another apocalypse film, but it's not as weird. There's like flesh-eating cockroaches and metal-eating cockroaches, and there's giant scorpions and Jan Michael Vincent. So that's more fun, right? And Paul Winfield and George Papard. And I love it when an apocalypse comes together. But thank you so much for watching. It's been a real honor for you to be here and suffer with me through the 1984 BBC film Threads. Have yourself a good day. We'll see you next time.